Dr. Chavez-Toivanen.
former campus director, and I'd like to thank Dr. Best, the current campus director, for inviting me. I had told him when I retired, please, when you cut the ribbon, make sure and invite me. Wherever I am, I will be there that day, because it was so hard to get this GEO bond passed. But thanks to the voters of Cibola County, we did. And it only passed by 37 votes. So if some of you think that it doesn't matter that you don't vote, if 38 people hadn't voted in that election, this building wouldn't be happening. And this wonderful child development center that will be a model for teacher education, early childhood, wouldn't be there. Jackie was working in that old decrepit building, and I was always so ashamed of that building. But I knew they were wonderful caregivers, but it was shameful that, you know, when that winter we had that high snow, the snow was up to their windows, and then eventually they had mold in the floor in the baby room, and I would just feel so bad. But the GEO bond passed, and I learned a lot from my colleagues at the other campuses. They had all successfully passed GEO bonds long before us. We had never tried it. And it was, I do want to tell you, it was really, really hard. There was opposition to it. And I understand opposition, because as we get older, I'm older now and I'm retired, and we get on fixed incomes, people don't want more taxes. But in reality, it is the responsibility of those that are going before you younger ones to help. And this is how we help, by helping these local GEO bonds pass, because it really helps institutions. This campus in its 50-year history had never even attempted to pass one. And Colino Marcus, the superintendent that was here with your schools when I arrived in 2005, and I got to know each other. I really respected Colino, and he asked me to wait till they were done rebuilding their schools, so that our GEO bond would not negatively impact them. And I waited, and I waited, and that was my final goal in my mind before I retired, was to try the GEO bond. And I knew it was a risk, but the morning that I went to breakfast with the school board, and I can say this now because everybody's different now. In the morning I went to breakfast with the school board chair and with the superintendent that was in place at the time. I had already met with the superintendent, and he said, yes, we'll support you, blah, blah, blah. And then sort of a year later, when I initiated the process, because the local school board is the advisory board to the college, and they have to approve the college going to the voters to ask for approval. They don't approve the bond, they approve going to the voters to ask for the bond. I went to breakfast, tell them I'm ready to get started. Superintendent knew, had said, yes, I will support this, but apparently the board chair didn't. So I quickly concluded, as the breakfast was winding down, that they were not supportive. And I just, you know, after a while you kind of get old and say, I'm calling it what it is. I said, so this is a no? And they both nodded. Well, the superintendent nodded because he was delivering the message for the school board chair. He said, it's a no. And I was really disappointed, and I came back to the office, and I'm, you know, those of you that knew me, I'm an emailer. I emailed the superintendent and the board chair, and I said, I understand your perspective, but there are 4 other board members, and it's my job to protect this campus and help it, so I will go to all 4 other board members. Yeah. And we got the vote from the board. It was a 3-2 vote. And one of the board members was threatened with one of the projects she had if she voted for it, and she voted for it. And so I love people that keep their word. And so here it is. And that's why I wanted to be here, because it's so exciting.
Yay, Dr. Machado.
Good afternoon. My name is Mickey Best. I'm the president here at New Mexico State University Grants, and I appreciate so much that we're all here together today. If you look behind me, I am humbled by the folks who are here with us today. And I just thank you so much for being here, each and every one of you. I want to introduce just a few quick, make a few quick announcements of our wonderful guests, some dignitaries who are with us today. If you would, please, and even up here on the stage, please stand, and let's wait until I've introduced everyone, and then let's give them a round of applause. From the American Indian Programs Office at NMSU, Mr. Michael Ray. The Audit Office, Melinda Quintella. Mr. Glenn Hubble, Director of Facilities, and the Assistant Director, Robert Herrera. Manuel Velasquez, Mayor Pro Tem, District 1 for the Grand City Council. And up here on the stage, Mr. Clemente Sanchez, State Senator, District 3. Let's give him a round of applause. So again, welcome to the campus. You've come to the campus on a great day. Work is taking place. I've often told students over the years that if you're not working, you're not doing anything. And I think the same thing can be true of our campus. Change is happening. Transition is happening. We're upgrading. Martinez Hall upgrades are continuing. And going forward, we'll be upgrading and bringing major improvements to the Fidel Activity Center. The parking lot is slated for replacement. Yay! NMSU Grants, make no mistake, is evolving and continuing to improve. Your presence here today, to me, is a testament of your belief in this institution, the way you value it, the way you see its purpose. And here is a fact. NMSU Grants could not exist and would not exist without the various levels of support you provide. Your gifts of time and commitment, donation of funding, and especially the ongoing partnerships you have with the institution. It's paramount to student success. What we do here, the faculty, the staff, the students, and the community, is extremely important. It meets a very specific need in this area. In fact, within this service area, and in partnership with all who work with the college, the fact is, NMSU Grants is equipped to meet the need. So it's my pleasure today to share in this experience, and I want to begin with a very powerful statement given to us by our Board of Regents. New Mexico State University Board of Regents proclamation. Whereas the Community College Branch Campus of New Mexico State University, located in Grants, New Mexico, was established in 1968 through the cooperative efforts of New Mexico State University and the Grants Municipal Schools. And whereas the Community College Branch Campus of New Mexico State University, located in Grants, New Mexico, moved to its present site in August 1969, renovated its main campus building, the Walter K. Martinez Memorial Hall, during the 1977-78 academic year, the campus gymnasium, Joseph A. Fidel Activity Center, in 1993, and in 1998, named the General Academic Building, Francis W. Frank McClure Hall. And whereas the Community College Branch Campus of New Mexico State University, located in Grants, New Mexico, continues to provide an accessible, quality education through innovative teaching and learning that promotes respect and service for the diverse students and community members of the service area of Cibola County, New Mexico. And whereas the Community College Branch Campus of New Mexico State University, located in Grants, New Mexico, embraces innovation in teaching and learning to promote a sustainable, prosperous community. And whereas the Community College Branch Campus of New Mexico State University, located in Grants, New Mexico, is designated as a Hispanic and Native American serving institution of higher education with educational outreach to these peoples of Northwest New Mexico. And whereas the Community College Branch Campus of New Mexico State University, located in Grants, New Mexico, has provided 50 years of high-quality academic instruction. Now, therefore, the Regents of New Mexico State University do hereby proclaim New Mexico State University at Grants a high-quality community college and declare its ongoing mission and purpose central to the well-being of the growth and prosperity of the university system and the communities, faculty, staff, and students it serves, approved at the meeting of the Board of Regents on the 5th day of September, 2018. Deborah Hicks, Chair, Board of Regents. Jareen Communis Hutchinson, Secretary of the Board. Now, I will be quiet and we can move this along. I would like to first call Connie Lyons, NMSU faculty, and one of our veterans to come and do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand and remove your hats. pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. It is my pleasure to first introduce Mr. Mark Fidel, son of the late Senator Joseph A. Fidel.
Thank you, Dr. Best. Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here and honored guests on the stage. This is so neat to see the buildings here still, the new buildings, and the fact that this is obviously a well-used facility. I hid out in the library when I was a lot shorter, doing science fair projects, studying. It was just fantastic to have that opportunity. But these are just buildings, right? They're named for people who were helpful in getting things done, but they're just buildings unless they're actually used. And to have them used means that people are working here, people are learning here, people are spending all hours of the day and into the night here, improving their lives, improving the lives of their children, their families, and hopefully giving them the ability to go on to maybe higher education, go on to vocations that they enjoy. I'm joined today by three of my siblings, Barbara, Mary Lee, and Donna, and they're in the back, and they're going to kill me for that. And our dad just was such a strong supporter of education in general, and he was fortunate to have two really good institutions in his Senate district, this one and New Mexico Tech in Socorro. And he made sure, because he understood the value of that education. He himself only had a high school diploma. I've gone on to some advanced degrees, spent far too much time in school, I'm probably saying, but it was worth it, so I really appreciate it. This was going to be 3 hours, but I decided to cut it off here. I hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you.
Please welcome Allison Sandoval, granddaughter of the late Frank McClure.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am happy to be here to celebrate the 50th anniversary of NMSU Grants. And I am speaking on behalf of my family and my late grandfather, Frank McClure. My speech is a little bit more formal than Mark's, but I hope you guys can bear with me. As you've heard and read, NMSU's grants started in 1968 when President Nixon ordered more than half of the Job Corps centers closed within the nation. My grandfather and several leaders of the community saw a need for these programs and types of things to stay open. With no budget and no startup funds, he contacted U.S. senators and U.S. representatives. He contacted the Forest Service, which owned the land, as well as the Office of Economic Opportunity, which owned the buildings, along with other leaders of the community, including Robert Gottlieb, Speaker of the House Walter Martinez, and Lieutenant Governor Ely Francis. They secured the campus. My grandfather continuously pushed for and supported legislation that ensured the success of this campus while he was in the state representative and while he was a state senator. In 1990, the Board of Regents passed a resolution recognizing his service, and in 1998, NMSU honored him by dedicating McClure Hall. While completing research, I was touched to discover my mother and grandmother had saved so many articles and letters, from the beginning correspondence requesting the land and buildings to the letters others had written in hopes of finally having a building dedicated in his honor. I'd like to share a few of those with you today. Dr. Cecilia Perro wrote, "Without Frank McClure's efforts, there might well be no Grants Campus." Naomi Gottlieb wrote, "It is a small compensation for his years of determined effort for that school." Former campus director Warren G. Nolan said, "While there were questions regarding the feasibility of locating a branch in Grants, Senator McClure was willing to lay down his reputation and influence on the line among his Senate colleagues." And then the one that brought a smile and a tear. It was from his dear friend, Senator Joseph Fidel. "I write this letter with deep appreciation and gratitude for the outstanding, unending, and selfless work that my friend Frank McClure has demonstrated over the past 30 years on behalf of the inception and continuous existence of NMSU Grants. My grandfather was a lot of things. He was a lifelong New Mexican, a U.S. Marine, serving in World War II. He started his public service on the school board in Hachita in 1952. He went on to become a state representative, followed by several years as state senator. He helped participate in the formation of Cibola County and served on the first county commission. He served twice as chairman of the State Environmental Improvement Board and was active in the Cibola County Chamber of Commerce. He owned several businesses, was a master mason, and a Shriner. He served as director of the First National Bank and one of the original founders of the All Saints Episcopal Church in Milan. But I know the very best part of him was that of husband, father, and grandfather. He was married to my grandmother, Hope, for 59 years before he left this world in June 2005. We are proud of his hard work and dedication, his love for his community and the person next to him, leading to a truly beautiful legacy. And we are honored that his name adorns one of the buildings. So thank you all for coming.
And now please welcome Mr. Kenny Martinez, NMSU Grants alumnus and son of the late Walter K. Martinez.
So, being a grandfather, the first thing I know is never follow a granddaughter. Wasn't that? That was really beautiful, and that was absolutely moving. One of the things I have to say is when I would drive onto the campus and I realized it was named after Frank, Walter, and Joe, it always made me smile to realize that you were driving here and it was named after three guys that couldn't be better friends and had a really good time doing great things, right? They enjoyed doing great things and they did it in such a humble manner. And I thought the fact that they had these three buildings in just like a little triangle named after them was just so much fun. And coming today is the first thing I felt again. So what a wonderful thing. What three gentlemen. Just so proud to have known them and for the way they touched my life. This institution touched my life in so many ways that I can never repay it. And I'll never forget it. And when I walked in the door and then I look at the audience, everybody here, I realize I'm home. Not just home in Grants, and not just home at 701 Elko or 824 Mount Taylor, but home here. And it's really means a lot to me. And I think that's what Frank and Joe and Walter wanted, to create a home for our students, for our kids, for our community. For me, it's touched me a lot. I decided, graduating from Grants High School, that there's a great college here, and I could go to it, and I could do my, coursework, especially the first 1 or 2 years. You get it out of the way, and you're not going into UNM or NMSU, both great schools, but you're going into classes of 100 or 200 students, and it's just overwhelming, very expensive. I was just so lucky to come here and spend my first year here. And I got all the credits I needed necessary, and then I transferred over to UNM, and everything transferred, and UNM went very well. And what I learned at Grants High School, what I learned at St. Teresa, what I learned here, just went straight over to UNM, no problem. I went straight over to Notre Dame, no problem. And it just served me so well. I mean, I'm just so proud of this place. But there's more to it than that. When I came back, someone said to me, hey, we have a paralegal course, we need some teachers, would you like to come and teach? I thought that would be fun. So I had so much fun teaching paralegal courses and criminal justice courses, and many people that I taught, I see all over in the community at leadership levels. Chiefs of police and the heads of corrections departments and things of that nature. So it's just so much fun and things that went on from there. But there was something even more exciting and fun when I was teaching in that corner classroom right over there. There's this really cute young lady that used to come and do the jazzercise class that I kind of had my eye on. So over 30 years ago, we got married, and that's my wife. So not only did I go to school here, not only did I have fun teaching here, I even met my wife here, believe it or not. It served me very well. I love this institution. These people back here are incredible. I know Frank and Walter and Joe are having a good time. You wonder, with those three guys, is there any arguing? Because didn't we just go from windy, snowy, kind of weird weather to the most beautiful, sunshiny fall day ever? I think we had a House and Senate joint memorial or something.
And now it's my pleasure to introduce a real friend of this institution, Clemente Sanchez, NMSU Grants alumnus, and even though you would never know it, he is retired from here, but he's very busy. Senator.
Thank you, Dr. Best, and thank you everyone for coming today, the 50th anniversary, and I can't call him Kenny, Speaker Martinez, is that how I know him? I'm an alumnus of the college here too. I started while I was in high school, taking a couple of classes, communications. The instructor actually used to come out to us at Laguna Acoma, where I graduated from, and that was Bobby Gallegos. He's still around. He runs our gallery over here in town. And I'm just proud that I think New Mexico State Grants is one of the gems of our community. And us, as I said in the legislature, Speaker Martinez was there, Kenny, and also when Senator Fidel and everybody were there, one thing that we do is we make sure that we protect our college here in Grants. It's one of the gems of the community along with our local hospital. And I remember when I ran the Small Business Development Center here, actually started up 25 years, so half of the time that NMSU Grants has been here, I was an employee of the college. And I remember when I used to go up to Santa Fe and work with Senator Fidel, he always said, okay, what do we need for the college? What do we need for the SBDC over there? Well, I was in the strip mall over here down on Roosevelt Avenue. And Dr. Felicia Casados and I talked, and I don't know if you remember this, and we said, what about the old Bank of America building over there? Why don't we try to get some money to purchase that building and to renovate it and open the Small Business Development Center there and move out of the strip mall? And so we went to Senator Fidel and asked him, how can we get money from the legislature to purchase that building and renovate it? Well, we were able to get some money, and thanks to Senator Fidel, we were able to get money to purchase that building. And then the college threw money in with what we didn't have in the capital appropriation to renovate the building. So the campus also is extended here up on Roosevelt Avenue. It's a real nice building with offices to have perform counseling sessions there, and also a classroom that the community also uses. So the campus is extended from here out, but I think this is a gem of our community, and we need to make sure that we keep it that way, because that will keep our community together. Because there are at times wanting to close all these outlying campuses. And as long as I'm around and able to fight for it, that ain't gonna happen. So, and it's not just this community, there's other communities. Not everybody wants to move to Albuquerque or move to Las Cruces. As I said, I was an NMSU student. I didn't graduate from here. I actually graduated from Eastern New Mexico University and New Mexico Highlands. But this is where I started. And we need to make sure that us as a community, that we promote our college here. Promote our college and help it grow. Because without growth, you die. So we need to grow. We need to grow the college, we need to grow in the curriculum, and we need to make sure that we push main campus, that we need to take care of our own here. So with that, again, thank you for coming out. I think it's great that we have this 50th anniversary, and let's have another I won't be around for the 100th, but I don't think any of us will be, or maybe I saw another one here somewhere. Someone might be here, but anyway, thank you, Dr. Best, and thank you everyone for coming out.
Thank you, Senator. And now please welcome, and I believe you have a microphone. Yes, please welcome Mrs. Barbara Rowden, NMSU Grants retiree and friend of the late Lucy Bell Ma.
Thank you, Dr. Best. Can you hear me? I'm sorry I can't be up at the microphone, but anyway, I'm here to tell you a few things about Lucy Bell Ma. She and I were very good friends, and I'm very pleased to be asked to speak about her. I was part of the Learning Center, the Adult Learning Center, for 15 years. Worked with several of the people that I see in the audience here now. I don't recall when Lucy and I first met, but we became friends right away. I always thought of myself as her special friend. You're laughing, huh? Well, she has a lot of special friends out there in the audience, too. You know who you are. Lucy was always positive about this campus, and everywhere she went, she promoted the NMSU Grants Campus. She was an excellent writer, and during the time that we were celebrating the 20th anniversary of New Mexico State Grants Campus, she wrote a profile in the Grants Beacon called Profile in Progress, and it was about alumni of this campus, people who worked here, and I was so pleased that she wrote about me. But Lucy was always a very good person to go to when you wanted something for this campus. Lucy was not always well. She didn't always feel good. She spent several years in Japan in the 50s, and during that time she, because of the living conditions, she was a missionary, and the living conditions and the food just set her off, and she had a lot of health problems. She came back to Albuquerque where her mother lived, and she had surgery, and after that things were not the same for her health, but she never complained. And I don't know that some of you probably knew her better than I did, but I felt that we were very close friends because one time she taught a class here at the college called Literature of the Bible, and I took that class, and we became even more close, I think, during that time. And our faith, even though we weren't the same religion, our faith in God was very special to both of us. The love of her life was Jonathan Ma. And after the mines closed here and they moved away, they moved to Idaho, and then they finally settled in Tucson. And Jonathan still lives in Tucson. It's too bad he couldn't be with us today, but he and I communicate. We send Christmas cards to each other, so we still stay in touch. Lucy always, when we talked on the phone from her home in Tucson, she always complained, "Barbara, it's 95 degrees here, and it's 9 o'clock at night. I miss Grants." She was going to write a story about Grants. She wrote a story about her time in Japan, and I have that copy. It's quite a lengthy copy of her time in Japan, but very interesting. I don't know if she ever got to write the one about Grants. I just feel that if Lucy was here today, she would be very proud to know that you are honoring her in such a fine way. And I know she would be very humble. I see there's people out in the audience like Ida Chavez, Karen Danig. Some of you probably knew Lucy maybe even better than I did. But we all loved her and we were her special friends. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ryan. Next, please welcome Doriciano Gonzalez, Campus Director here at NMSU Grants from 1975 to 1986.
Thank you, President Bess. I like that word, President, because at the time, Regent Communis, we were not presidents, we were campus directors, and the title really fits to be presidents. And thank you for the Board of Regents to have changed that for us. And I noticed that the resolution even calls it a community college now and drops the branch, because that's one of the things that I struggled the most with, especially when I was a campus director in Doñana. They called it a branch. And what is a branch? Is it a bank branch for me? Banks, so maybe that's what it was. I don't have anything written other than I sat there and listened to everybody, and just the same way that when I got here, I got here in '73. I was a coordinator of student services at the time, and I was that for a couple of years, and then Warren Nolan left, and so they made me the campus director at the age of 28. So at that point in time, I'll go back to that about Lucy Ma and that age here in a little while, but let me just kind of make it so easy for me. Somebody paved the way for me to be here, and it was those legislators that set it up. Walter Martinez, Senator Fidel, Senator McClure, they were the ones that made it so easy for me. I thought I was a real good lobbyist at the legislature. So when I got here, they had already appropriated $1.5 million for the building, and Walter Martinez with just a look, and they were trying to take some money away from him of this $1.5 million on his project. And somebody walked up and says, he never asked for hardly anything, just give him the $1.5 million. So that's how it started. And then a couple of years later, I had the building going, and we were short of money. It was time to get a contractor to build it, and we were about $500,000 short. And so I was sent to the legislature, and the president of the university hardly ever wanted a little guy to show up over there and lobby for New Mexico State University, but yet they kind of were smart, I think, and they said, Walter Martinez and Joe Fidel will probably take care of this young man. And sure enough, they did. Walter Martinez would sit me outside his office and tell me, go do this, go do that, go do this. And one evening he says, you need to be in appropriations this evening and see if what they're doing there in appropriations. So at that point in time, the chairman was going through amendments, and he says, it was Luna, Representative Luna, and he says, wait a minute, he goes and talks to me for a little while, and he asked me, can you write the amendment that's going to go for the $1 million and for the $500,000? So by that time I had learned enough that, you slip it in here, you add, delete, add, and so on, and so I put it in, and we got the first $2 million to start these facilities. And that thereon was easy. We did an addition over here, an addition over there. I was able to pass bond issues because those three guys already had laid the groundwork for me to make it easy. And here I thought I was the guy that managed to work the legislature, work the community, but Richard Danig, it wasn't me. Somebody had done it for me already. So that's kind of my role here, and throughout my career, I've always enjoyed, taking care of what somebody else has laid out, and that was the way my career kind of went. Well, Lucy Belmont is the person that was kind of the silent cornerstone of this institution. She was here for the first president. And she always would tell me, yeah, that guy was, you know, getting everything going. But he left. And then here comes Warren Nolan, and she loved Warren Nolan. Okay, Warren Nolan could not do anything wrong for her. Well, Donnie Gonzalez shows up, and he's coordinator of student service, and I told you I was a little young guy. And one day we were doing registration. She was always worried about registration. We had only a little under 200 students at the time. Every student counted, believe me. And there were people up on main campus sometimes that would tell us, I think that's a marginal institution. I'm not sure if we should have it there. And I looked at the stats this time around, you're at 1,000 students now. You know, when I left, we were at 500. But anyway, she would watch registration, like make sure everything went right and everything. And what I would do is I'd call my buddies, they were about my age, that had come back from Vietnam, and I'd make sure they'd come and register. They thought I liked them, and I really cared for them. I didn't. I just kind of liked my job, and I wanted to increase enrollment. Well, one day when we were doing registration, she was all nervous. So then she always had a cup of coffee. I don't know if she did that when you were around, Richard, and the rest of you, but she spilled it on her desk. And everybody just looked at her desk. And I ran to the bathroom, and I got a bunch of paper towels, and I came and I cleaned it. And from then on, she says, you won me over, and you're going to be okay. So thereafter, Lucy Bell and I worked very well. I appointed her for the non-traditional programs, the coordinator of non-traditional programs. She was here when I showed up, she was here when I left, and she was a cornerstone of this campus. So the name, to use her name on the dedication of the building is very appropriate. Thank you very much.
Next, next please welcome Dr. Gary Isham, who was campus executive director from 1999 till 2004.
Good afternoon and welcome. I'm not as bad off as it looks. I came from the other side of Arizona. That's a lot of sitting. I had a little trouble standing up. I was going to hold on to a podium. I don't know, looks like I'm stuck with this guy. Who'll make it? Let me carry on a little bit with the history that you just heard from Don. When I came here, I started getting letters from the Commission on Higher Education. They were all addressed to President Isham. So I called the Commission on Higher Ed and I said, they call us directors. He said, don't confuse us, you're president. Leave us alone. But okay, so the first time the meeting came up of all the presidents across the state of New Mexico, I went to Albuquerque, which is where the meeting was held. The chairman was the president at MIT, Mexico Institute of Technology. And so he was at the front running the meeting. To his right was the president of New Mexico State University, my boss. To the other side was the president of the University of New Mexico. He kept impressing upon me that I was president just like the rest of them. So I sat down up there with the other three. Everybody else went as far back the room as they could get, which I couldn't quite figure out why. And the meeting started, and the guy leading it said, okay, President of Mexico State, I'm going to assign you a project. It'll take 3 or 4 years, but we want it done right, so we're giving that one to you. And then he looked at the president of the University of New Mexico and he said, well, I got a project for you, an easy one. This will only take a couple of years. I want you to do that one. He said, I got one more here. I'll do that one. It's probably a 3-year project, but I'll take that one on. And he was starting to look at me, the only person from the branch campus out of the 8. And he got this look in his eye, and then somebody said, time to break for lunch. So we went to lunch. When we came back from lunch, I got to tell you, I was not only in the back row, I was lying on the floor. There's no way I was going to take one of those babies. Okay, so just to fill you on some of the history. I appreciate the remarks of Clemente. We're always in the business of starting new programs for the people that make up our community, the students that want to go forward with their education. That really is a major part of what we do here. So when I was here, I caught on to that same attitude and said, okay, what are we going to do? So we have 4 prisons here, if you didn't know, and we needed correctional officers for these 4 prisons. So we'd get a couple vans, we'd take the applicants over to Santa Fe to spend 6 weeks going to their school. Somehow they would get back to Grants before us. There's no way they're going to spend 6 weeks over in Santa Fe without their families. So it dawned on us that we had to do something different. So okay, let's start our own correctional officers training academy. We'll get them here, we'll train them here, we'll put them to work here. Well, that sounds like a good idea. So I said, well, you got to go to the legislature. They're not going to approve that. So I went to the legislature, and they said, well, okay, we'll let you do that if the police academy over Santa Fe approves it. And I said, they're not going to approve that. And that's the way the mob flops. Send me back home. I said, okay, I'll talk to the police in Santa Fe. And they said, well, first of all, you got to have a proper place to test the students before they're admitted. So what do I need? We need a big mat because they've got to do push-ups. Okay, we got a mat. Would you have a track, a running track? No. Oh, you got to have a track. Okay. How good does the track have to be? Oh, accurate within 1 foot. Accurate within 1 foot? Never heard a track that accurate. Olympics, they're not that accurate. No, it's got to be that accurate. Okay, architects, engineers, contractors, you name it, we had it, we built that track. To my knowledge, that track has never once been used. Nonetheless, that is a very good track, let me tell you. So about this time, I said, I'm going to follow up on this. I called the bank in Santa Fe. You said these women have to, because our main one is the women's prison. Said, what do these women have to do? They said, push-ups. How many push-ups? They said, well, currently the standard is 3. He said, don't worry, those are women's push-ups, not men's push-ups. I said, okay, we'll work on that. I said, how about the track? I said, how fast do they have to run the track? Again, the standard is, roughly 15 minutes. 1 lap around that quarter-mile track, yeah, it's 15 minutes ought to do. Gee, it didn't take me that long to raise my first 2 kids. But all right, we're getting it started. And thus, along with what Clemente said, yeah, we have this whole new thing going. But why would I be spending all the time on it? The reason being, it takes so much to get something started. This new building that we had the ribbon cutting for, I mean, you look at that, there was a small building, inexpensive building, that's easy. No, it is not easy. The amount of work that it takes to push something like that all the way through to the end is enormous. And these people on the stage behind me, and many, many others, who knows how much work they have put into this. At every opportunity you ever get, thank them. Okay, give them credit, give them appreciation. Because I gotta tell you, that is a tough thing to do. And so you should be thrilled at what is being accomplished right now. Okay? One of the things I wanted to do was get an idea who our students were. They change from year to year. I mean, they look the same. Well, no, they're not the same. And night students are not the same as day students. So I said, okay, I'm going to teach that nighttime class in statistical analysis. And that ought to be a good one to get me a chance to, meet the students on a different level than what I've been doing. Well, one thing to think about was the only reason they were taking that class, it was the last class they needed to graduate. Now that's just what you like, a whole class of people who are only in there for one reason. Pass that class, they'll graduate and they're out of here. Nonetheless, it was a very good class. And I had probably maybe the best student that I've ever had, who always sat right in the middle, of the front. I can't remember her name, so I'll call her Nicole because that's my daughter's name. I can remember that. So anyway, right in the middle, she was a great student. One day she's not there. She wasn't there the next time. Gosh, talk about an easy A. She's got it made. So I called her home to see if there was something wrong. And I had a chance to talk to her mother. Well, it turns out she was a typical one of our demographics in that she was single. She was the mother of 2 children. She was the sole earner of any kind of income for any reason to raise that family. She had to hold down a job to support her kids, and she's trying to go to school full time. That is not unusual. That's the typical student that we see here. Okay? So the mother right away thinks, who's this guy calling? Another guy trying to hit on her because he's found out that she's going through a divorce. Well, the mother's grunt's kind of nasty because it's tough going through a divorce if you haven't done that before. There's a lot of fighting, name calling, trying to get custody of the kids, going through the court proceedings, etc. If you know what that's like, it's a tough life. And the kids, they're always right in the middle of this. And so whenever I had a chance to talk to Nicole, she would tell me about what it was really like. Because I'd say, is it hard, working full-time and going to school full-time? I said, no, the only problem is, how do I deal with my 2 kids who are having to live with this ugliness? And she said, the only reason I'm doing this is so I can take better care of my kids and they'll want to go on and get an education. So I understood. So come graduation night, only one student didn't make it through my class. All of the rest of them graduated. And as they came through the line, we get to shake their hand and that. I thought about saying something special to Nicole, but then I thought, so she's the best student I've ever had and it's an automatic A+. Why should I treat her any differently? So I just let her pass through. But afterwards, I got a hold of my wife and I said, let's go talk to the graduates. We found Nicole and her mother and her 2 little kids. And I sat down with the 2 little kids and I said, your mother is brilliant. She's the best student I've ever had. She is so smart. And she told me the only reason she's doing this is for you 2. I hope you understand that. You need to be so proud of your mother. Well, coming from that background of the fighting and name calling, all of a sudden, here's their mother that just graduated from college. And they hear those kinds of things being said about their mother. They looked up at their mother for maybe the first time in years. And have you ever hear the name Jack Parr? He was the first one to start the Tonight Show way before Johnny Carson. Well, Jack Parr did some very interesting things. One night what he did was he had his people take some black and white film footage of just people that they located, and you were supposed to look at this 15-second of video and just tell from the expression on the face of the people what was going on, over on the stage or whatever it might be. And that so impressed me, because as they went through these things, each time, yeah, boy, you can see that. You just think what those expressions were, and look at what the event was. wow, that was so powerful, I never forgot it. And immediately I thought of that Jack Parr, show. And I looked at those two little kids, I think 5 years old and 7 years old, I think. And when they looked up at their mother, that look of love and pride, etc., on their faces, that was that Jack Parr moment for me. So afterwards, I was running all these things through my mind. I said, she was fortunate in that she was able to live with her mother. Her kids and her lived with her mother, so her mother did all the cooking, cleaning, everything, so she could work full-time and go to school. I said, that was great, but how many of our students aren't so fortunate? How many of them don't have someone, a relative that they could live with, etc.? They're on their own. Well, we have a program here in a new building that's going to take care of a lot of those needs. And from what I've been able to find about this new building and the programs that will be housed in it, what they'll do for the students and the kids, and in some cases faculty members, etc., I thought, wow, this program is going to be known throughout the state. People throughout the state of New Mexico are going to be coming here and saying, we'd like to see what you're doing here. Now this is something all of you can be proud of, because the support of every kind that we got from you people, that is what made this all possible. And after a period of 30 years, you can think back over those years and say, how many students like Nicole and her kids, went through, got their degrees, etc., were able to have help, in a nursery school or whatever. How many found that possible because of what you people have done, and of course the people behind me. Not me, I didn't do anything, but these people. So again, every chance you get, thank one another, thank these people. It's one of those types of programs that cause other ones to grow and grow and grow. When we were driving back over here tonight, I was thinking, that's what really sticks in my mind about this. My mind works in strange ways, and those of you who know me understand that. So I'm thinking, what really is it that something's gnawing away at me? And then it hit me. A world-respected politician, I can't remember who it was now, but he said, no man stands as tall as when he stoops to lift a child. And I thought, to me, that's it. That's what we're doing, isn't it? In many ways, that's what we're achieving here. And you are the ones making it happen. Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciated this opportunity. And I wish you all the best to come. And I know NMSU Grants is going to do nothing but move forward. So thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Eichmann. Next, it's my pleasure to introduce my immediate person right before me. Please welcome Dr. Felicia Casados, Campus President, 2005 to 2015.
I'm a little shorter than the rest of these people. Well, I had the pleasure of being here from 2005 to 2015, 10 years. And I always felt grateful that this community picked me to be here. And one of the, even though I didn't grow up here, I related to the community because I grew up rural. I grew up in a little town called El Huica in northern New Mexico. It's not even on the map, it's that little. I remember somebody said when I first moved here, aren't you going to mind that it's so small, Grants? And I laughed and I said, there's never even been a grocery store in the town I grew up in. It's that little. So I understood the challenges. And the first thing I'd like to say is that, and I'll try to keep this brief because you know me, I talk a lot too. It's really important challenges that we face in rural America, that we never give up our spirit, and that we think abundantly instead of with a sense of lack. And it's these people that are back here, and I'll tell just a few stories before I'm done about these people back here that help me. But we tend to sometimes compete for resources because there aren't as many resources as there are in urban areas. So we start pitting ourselves against each other, school district against campus, hospital against clinic, and it doesn't make sense because we really need to unite. So I was very touched to see Robert from Continental Divide today. He committed to get Continental Divide and his board to do the internet access. I just read an article that a small town in Colorado that lost enormous amount of coal mining jobs is now building an internet infrastructure, and people are actually moving from Denver to that little town because they're tired of the crime, they're concerned about where their families are growing up, they want the sense of community that small towns have to offer. So it's lovely to see Continental Divide stepping up to do that. And I just want to tell 2 short stories and then I'll be done. I had the pleasure, Mark, of knowing your father, Senator Fidel. He was still in office when I came here, and I was always told how gracious he was, and Clemente was our SBDC director. He had mentored under him, and Clemente introduced me to him. So he was always so helpful to me in my early years. And of course, Speaker Martinez, who everybody calls Kenny, but somehow that never felt respectful for me to call him Kenny. So it was always Representative Martinez and Speaker Martinez. Well, the first story is one of the ways the campus gets facilities monies beyond the local GeoBond that funded the buildings we cut the ribbon for today is through state capital outlay. And on the ballot in November, you will have the higher ed, I don't know what the bond is, the letter. Does anybody here know? D, bond D. That's very important to campuses, especially rural campuses. To urban ones too. They get a lot more money, but very important to our campus, so please vote in favor of it. I can say that because I'm not campus president anymore and I can give my political opinions. But we were at the legislature and Speaker Martinez was not speaker yet, but he still had a lot of clout over there because of his experience there. And I think we had 1.5 million on the state geo bond for our campus. And see, everybody's jockeying over there for more money. It's never about less money, it's about more money. And I was sort of just worried about protecting what we had. I'll always remember Speaker Martinez's admonishments to me, Alicia, 1.5 is all we have. I wanted more. But, so I went to see him and he assured me he would be watching it and he'd talk to Senator Fidel and so on. And I'm driving out of Santa Fe late that afternoon. I remember I was just about to get on the freeway and he's on the phone with me. He said, Felicia, you need to turn around, it's at 0. We went from 1.5 million in a committee to 0 because somebody else wanted our 1.5 million. So here I turn around and as one of my colleagues said, I sat in his office and he said, go talk to this person and that person. And Clemente was there also and he helped. And then the last story will be when we were waiting on the election night of the GEO bond, which is first Tuesday in February, if I recall. We were having our Cibola County, I think it was a Cibola County legislative dinner in Santa Fe at the Bull Ring that Eileen Yarborough coordinates for the Economic Development Council. And the results were coming in and oh, they looked awful. And I remember Ambrosia, I don't know if she's still here, Ambrosia was with me at the dinner and one other staff person went with me. I wanted to introduce them to this process. And it was late, it was around 9:30, and the results, I mean, we were getting them by email, right? The results, and we were in the minus. And I got up, I was staying at my mother's about half an hour away. I got up to leave, it was a long night, I still had to drive. And I thought, oh, how very sad, after all that work. And Clemente said, Felicia, Clemente was already our state senator. And because I knew Clemente before he was a state senator, I can call him Clemente. No disrespect meant. I feel like like part of the family now. And Clement just said, don't worry, the final election results many times come in from the exterior communities, and the tribal communities will always support a geobond. And sure enough, as I said earlier, if you were at the ribbon cutting, we only won our election by 37 votes. So if you weren't at the ribbon cutting, especially those of you that are not, sometimes think that your vote doesn't matter. If 38 people, as I said, had not voted that night, that building wouldn't have happened today. So please, it matters. And in the climate that we are in our country, it really matters that you vote. And vote for bond. D as in David? Yes. For higher ed. So thank you very much for having me. I appreciate being here. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, Dr. Casados. And now I'd like to introduce one of my bosses. Please welcome Jareen Jimenez Hutchison, Regent for New Mexico State University System.
Thank you, Dr. Best, and it's certainly my honor and privilege, I think, if I can get this up, to be here today and share with you. I just want to start out by saying thank you for your gracious hospitality from Grants, New Mexico in celebrating this historic moment in time for NMSU Grants' 50th anniversary. The hard work done by everyone in planning for the festivities today and all year long, I'm sure, is duly noted and much appreciated. You have shown each one of us from visiting from Las Cruces that we are a welcome part of this community. And in turn, NMSU Grants represents a critically important part of the NMSU system. On September 5th, my fellow board members and I approved a proclamation in support of the ongoing mission of NMSU Grants and acknowledged the outreach to the Hispanic and Native American populations of the region and the high quality and innovative education that you make available to all students that you serve. We can clearly see how the NMSU Grants Campus fits into the broader strategic direction of Chancellor Arvizu to improve student success and amplify outreach and economic development. It's in 20 point, don't worry. For the citizens of not only Grants, but those of New Mexico. Your passion and enthusiasm for student success is clearly on display, noting specifically how memorable and characteristically unique your commencement ceremonies have been. While many memories have been shared, histories have been told, and individual contributors have been acknowledged, we are reminded that your history of service to this community is what gives us great confidence in your future. The growth that we can see in the physical buildings that occupy the campus over the last 50 years is an important manifestation of the commitment that your community and state have put into this campus and a visible testament to all that visit and attend. That NMSU Grants is here to serve in ways that work best for your community. Looking forward, we hope you will recognize the importance of voting in the upcoming elections as Bond D and Bond B are on the ballot, where $1.5 million are at stake for NMSU Grants for improvements at Martinez Hall and also for improvements, Bond B, for libraries throughout the state. Once again, congratulations in celebrating 50 years, and I would like to introduce our newly appointed Vice President for Student Success, Dr. Renee Scott, who will speak more about the important role that the community colleges play as part of the NMSU system, including how NMSU Grants fits into the broader context of student success, and most importantly, in rural and often underserved areas in the great state of New Mexico. Thank you.
First, I want to congratulate you on 50 years. I was 6 when you guys were formed, conceived, whatever words you want to use. And as Regent Hutchinson mentioned, I want to talk about the value of community colleges to rural America. But I think I'm going to do that with a bit of a different twist than maybe the university imagined. You see, I first got to New Mexico and have had the wonderful opportunity of being a colleague of Dr. Casados and Dr. Best as a community college president at New Mexico State University. And student success is very, very important. And this community college has contributed greatly to various student success. Several of your graduates have worked at New Mexico State or still do work at New Mexico State. But I want to give you, as these folks have talked about the past, I want to give you a glimpse into the future for rural campuses, particularly in New Mexico. You see, institutions of higher education, while often debated today in legislatures or in the media or even around kitchen tables as to whether or not they are valuable, I have no doubt that they are. You see, in my 30 years in higher education, in my 35 years in education, I've seen industries come and go. For you young people, you don't know what a rotary phone is, but some of you in here do. I grew up, went to school, and actually typed papers on a typewriter, not on my phone. I saw the day when I actually pulled up in a gas station and some really amazing young man or woman pumped my gas, cleaned my windows. That's why I had to come here, because in Michigan that's cold to do, by the way. But interestingly enough, in those 35 years of education, I'm going to tell you the value of education has not changed. And in fact, it has increased. You see, we live in an era now where in my hand, I have more knowledge and information than every professor put together at New Mexico State University. No disrespect intended. I live in a day, believe it or not, I used to have to program my computer just so it would add 3 plus 4. Today, I can do differentiated equations on my phone. I still don't know what they mean, but I can do it. I can do various regressions so that I can share with the regents the data that they need to make and consider educational policy for the university. We live today in an era of the Internet of Things. I can sit in my living room at 2 in the morning when I'm wide awake thinking about student success, and I'm not kidding, and buy something I need, like a book to read to try to give myself some ideas. I can read it on my phone with glasses. You see, rural America today has more potential educationally than at any time in my lifetime. I had to go away to school. I had to go to the big city of Grand Rapids, Michigan, where there were 1 million people. I liked Las Cruces better at 100,000, but I also spent years before coming to New Mexico living in Boyne City with 750 people. The internet has made possible place-based innovation and jobs. And in order to continue to innovate new technologies, new theories, new ways of doing things, serving people, the technology is here. You don't have to leave anymore. And this campus will provide you that opportunity to continue to learn. You see, because like my parents taught me, and they were wrong, because I never left college. Just go to college, and you'll get a really good job, and once you get out of college, you'll have a really good job. What they didn't realize was I never left college, and I do have a really good job. All right? So this campus, this opportunity to provide you access to education and new and novel education and new and novel technologies has opened the world to Grants, New Mexico. That when I went to the school in the 80s, I had to go to the big city to get it, and I didn't like the big city. And so I want you to realize that while these debates go on in Congress, in the media, around tables, in boardrooms, not ours, hold on to my hope for the future, because education is going to be more valuable today and in the future than ever before. And you have one of the most valuable assets. Not just the buildings, but it's what the buildings will allow you to do. So I know, even though I won't be here 50 years from now, grants, NMSU grants, will still be a valuable asset for you. It might just look different. Congratulations.
Can we have a round of applause for these wonderful folks? Absolutely. You know, as I listen to these words, something entered my mind, and that is, what's the great mark of a campus director or president? And I'm convinced one great mark of that is something I did. I got out of Dr. Marlene Chavez-Toivanen's way so she could plan this phenomenal event. So welcome, Dr. Chavez-Toivanen.
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to thank all our featured guests today, and thank you for traveling so far to be with us today. I'd also like to thank all of you for coming and spending your afternoon here at NMSU Grants Campus and celebrating our 50th anniversary. I would like, if you're in the audience, if you're a member of the 50th Anniversary Committee, to please stand. And I'd like to publicly thank you for all your work. This is just one. One of several events that began with the 4th of July, and so this committee has worked really hard to do a lot of different events and promote the college. I'd like to give a shout out to Elon and Mr. Myers from the library for doing the video of everything and pictures. Another great shout out to Mr. Garcia, Noah Cedillo, one of our students back there, and Brian Johnson for the sound, both outside and inside, so thank you very much. The facilities staff who worked really hard to do everything, so I didn't have to do very much this morning. I'd like to thank them as well. They worked hard to get everything ready. And the business office who works to get all the purchasing stuff and make sure that I'm in compliance with what I need to do and spending legally and so forth. And so they're out there working, but I'd like to publicly thank them. And the front office staff as well. This really did take the whole campus to get where we are today, and I'm very fortunate to have shared this experience with them. And please, if you haven't had dinner, please join us outside for dinner and continued visiting with each other. Thank you so much.